themselves that they sucked like 2 weeks ago when they lost to Energy. So they have gotten a lot better ever since the regular season ended. They've changed some of their mindset. But Graves goes first pick, and that's got to be top lane for Huni.
All right, so a different set of picks right here coming through. Graves was not banned anywhere in the series or picked except for, sorry, it was picked by Svenskeren over in game 1, but this time around, instead of going for the early Corki, they go for the early Graves, hoping that will do much more for Immortals. And even though the bans match game 1's exactly, even in order, it's a new first pick here for Immortals, hoping that changes things up.
Right, something that was interesting yesterday in the CLG Liquid series, even though Liquid didn't win, is they went back to their tried and true champions when they really needed to. They put Matt on to Bard. That was his best champion before he was a pro even. And for Reignover, his tried and true best champion is going to be Rek'Sai. Last game, TSM banned it. And here, even though Gragas is up and Svenskeren may be a better Gragas, they were thinking about denying it. I thought they were going to. If they go Gragas, I'm almost certain Reignover is going to go Rek'Sai.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like some level of mind game here. The random Rek'Sai ban in game 2 and then the hover here in the third one. Like trying to make him play Rek'Sai. It's like, oh, we're afraid of this. Really, we care about you playing Rek'Sai. Sometimes you can get away with that kind of a mind game here. What's also it's worth noting here that the Janna actually comes through. Wasn't played at all so far this series. It's been 2 Karma games in a row for Adrian. In fact, in the regular season, it was 2 more from him. But the Janna steal.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about comfort picks, right? What are the 2 characters that, were most comfortable for Adrian? It's Soraka, which is banned out, and it's the Janna, right? They may be saying, hey, these are the 2 that you want to play. Guess what? You don't get to in this final game, or potentially final game.
And Adrian's always talked about how versatile he is. You look back at his time on Team Impulse, and people saying he was a one-dimensional Leona Alistair player. So, like, we know he has a history of playing those things, but not on Immortals. So they go for the range supporting Karma, and the Janna gets to go over to Yellowstar.
And it's really not just about what you have played, it's about what you're playing, right?
Recent.
Exactly. You have to be super professional on these champions because you're playing against some of the best players in the world that will exploit any weakness that you show.
And we'll see how much more TSM can exploit then. Immortals going back to a lot of what game 1 looked like. Maybe it won't be a Lucian, but maybe just a Graves top instead. The rest of this comp can be pretty much picked up almost verbatim. Corki, though, off the table. But Karma Jhin is going to be the bot lane, same as it was over in game 1. And I know Lokodoko said, don't have Wild Turtle play any more Jhin. I don't think his Jhin was bad by any means. I think it was more talking about not getting Lucian into the top lane in the first place. But Turtle's Jhin has been pretty good, I find.
Yeah, it's been all right. It's definitely been one of his lowest KDA or impact champions when he has played it. Regular season, he was 1-1 and 2 on it. And then he played it earlier in this series and was very lackluster as well. Turtle has excelled. You think about the biggest Immortals moments when he can fly into the fight, when he can go deep for those kills with Lucian or Kalista. Jhin doesn't offer the same types of things. It is a much different play style for sure.
All right, well, unless TSM is trying to pull in Immortals here, we know exactly where the champions are going. They've left their jungle pick for last, which is a little bit curious to me that they'd be willing to blind pick their top laner just to delay what's coming into the jungle, but that's the case here. Maokai grabbed for Hanser, Kalista AD carry for Doublelift, mid lane Corki for Bjergsen.
I've got to say, where's the Echo, Huni? This is supposed to be the counter for Maokai, right? He blind picked it. Echo is godlike. Huni was already playing Maokai previously in the season. Why not?
I think that would require them to put Graves in the jungle, and they really just want Huni on top lane Graves. Like, no matter the matchup, it just doesn't seem like something Immortals wants to do. Once again, it is going to be one of those perplexing things of what happened to Echo in the Immortals vs. TSM series, the permanent presence in all other pro games.
Especially when it's not like, oh, he just never learned it. He already played it.
He's played last
He's
night.
playing it last year too. He's been playing it forever. The guy's godlike at it.
Well, it's not going to be the case here, though. It's going to be a fairly aggressive team, but it's going to be no tanks in the top lane. It's still the single tank composition, 3 games in a row on Karma for Adrian. To his credit, he can provide shield, so that may help a little bit. And also, Rek'Sai is a natural Cinder Hulk user compared to someone like Gragas, who is typically going for Runic Echo. So we might see a slightly tankier Reignover. Maybe it works out well for him, but the counter pick is going to be Lee Sin.
They pick it in the position that it could be a counter, but by no means is Lee Sin a counter pick to Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is a counter pick to Lee Sin.
Yeah, no, I agree.
My experience.
You just right-click on the Lee Sin if he Qs you, and it basically automatically will pop him up. Like
it'll automatically unburrow if he tries to take the second pit of the Q2.
Yeah, he should never be able to actually connect that Q, so you can deny that damage every time. So as far as jungle skirmishing, unless the Lee catches you unburrowed, in a super disadvantageous position, you should be winning those.
All right, well, seeing as the champs are locked in and they've already done their swap with double marks on both sides here, but A bigger tank from TSM. Hanser on his second Maokai game of the series.
You know what I think the Lee Sin actually might be is just to pick on Huni, because I actually think that when you already have Maokai for exceptional gank assist, you take a super strong early ganker like Lee Sin, probably one of the very best in the game. You pair that with Maokai, and now you can just pick on this Graves.
Yeah, and what this series has really come down to so far is you had the top performers on TSM being Bjergsen and Doublelift during the regular season. They haven't done poorly. But then you have what was supposed to be the top performers for Immortals with their top lane and jungle, and they've been beaten by Hanser and Sven in those 2v2s. So I think that's going to be the focus once again in this game is those 2v2s top.
And that's why they waited for a while on the Lee Sin to see what the top lane was really going to be. Can we pick on it? Yes, we can. It's Graves. We'll see if that plan works out for TSM. You guys at home, we might be in the final game here. Tweet at Lali Sports, hashtag IMT win or hashtag TSM win. Will it be the 7th straight finals appearance for TSM, or will Immortals upset and crack the plot armor here in Game 3? TSM up 2-0. Can they close it out?
And I have a feeling there might be a couple TSM fans here that are looking for TSM to close this out. So it'll definitely be interesting to see if they're going to be able to do it.
They've been quiet for most of the year. It is hard to cheer for a team that loses half of their games. That has been what's happening for the regular season.
What? That's an objectively true statement.
I'm literally not trash talking.
Not even smack
Calm
talk.
down.
Yeah, he's TSM Jack, guys.
Yeah, come on.
We already know he's pulling for the team.
We know how this works.
Yeah.
What? All right.
Warning and stuff.
You know what's funny about the Rek'Sai versus Lee Sin matchup, actually? With Lee Sin being the blind monk, why is it that Rek'Sai is the one that actually has good echolocation skills? Right? Like, Reignover burrows as Rek'Sai and actually tracks things way better than Svenskeren ever could on Lee Sin. It's weird. I feel like it's out of the lore.
Oh, man.
That's because Rek'Sai is an alien queen, I think, and
Void Queen.
Void
yeah,
Queen,
which is kind of an alien,
so
honestly.
You got special powers.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
And Lee Sin's just a blind dude who's really good at karate.
He's really, or Muay Thai, as it is in this game.
Close enough.
Some people have a bone to pick with that one.
You can tweet at Ryzel with your pick bones. Either way, we can look at the matches here. Obviously, Warlords is going to be for Huni. And I think Graves is just a way better version of top lane Lucian as far as what Huni was trying to do. I think he's going to be going the offensive build as well. Death Dance, Phantom Dancer into maybe an Infinity Edge. That's what he did last time he played top lane Graves. But he will be much more durable with that build than he was on Lucian. So if Maokai does try to jump on him, he'll win that duel, where he was losing it as Lucian.
And they have a solid mage in the mid lane as well. So in the mid game, Immortals have different options available to them. We will once again be in matched lanes here. And last game, TSM won both their lanes and got both side outer turrets in the matched lanes game. So we'll see how well they can turn it on this time around.
Yeah, this is going to be really tricky, though, because I feel like the Jhin Karma lane can have a pressure advantage as well as the Graves Maokai lane. So it's going to be 2 out of 3 losing lanes, and there's not a real pressure advantage between Lee Sin and Rek'Sai as champions. So TSM is at a bit of a disadvantage, I think, early in the lane phase.
Yeah, I actually think that Karma Jhin has a massive advantage over this lane. Janna is inherently, I think, pretty weak to poke. It's something where you can't heal back up after it. You have to pre-shield the poke. That's really your only chance. And you can see they're already back down to like half HP, getting pushed under the turret. And Jin's able to follow up on that poke. If Karma lands a Q, he can hit the W, get some free poke in.
And you're seeing that happen pretty much a lot right here. Doublelift has already burned his first potion there. And I really like that Adrian can also provide the movement speed to make sure that that fourth attack does come through. Could feel good for Immortals. This 2-on-2 right now pretty close to equal. Small CS lead for Turtle and Adrian together, but not the end of the world.
And as you said, though, it's about the potions, right? Already the potion gone for Wild Turtle, and 2 potions already used to the 0, for Yellowstar versus Adrian. We'll see if they can continue to capitalize on that, though.
Yeah, I mean, top lane focus or dual lane focus.
Yeah.
Or top laner focus or dual lane focus.
Sure.
So far it's been actually Svenskeren starting in the jungle of Reignover before going to impact the lanes. But in this Lee Sin vs Rek'Sai matchup, he has a slower first clear. And if he does go for a counter jungle, there's a very good chance Reignover sees him just with the Tremor Sense. So it's a much more uphill battle than TSM has had in either of the games. Game 1, they had a vast superiority in team fight composition. Game 2, they had the jungle pressure advantage. Here, it's much more nuanced where they could potentially find their edges.
Ooh, and look at this, an early edge going to Pobelter as Reignover by ending his jungle clear at his blue buff at 4 minutes is going to donate that one over. Now, this does mean that TSM can right away say, hey, Rek'Sai was left jungle, probably recalled, probably started bot side. It's actually pretty easy to track the kind of route that Reignover would take. The only camps that should be up right now are Krugs. This is something that TSM can play off of, actually.
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, a couple minutes into laning, we're already seeing a few hundred gold ahead. 500 gold up from Immortals without first blood, without any kills, is actually very significant at this point in the game. I mean, top lane is going okay. Huni's definitely ahead, but, bot lane, already 10 CS up ahead is pretty significant.
Definitely agree right here. So some of it's being pushed lanes, but some of it definitely advantageous matchups. And I think down the line, these are all pretty damn good. Keep in mind, Bjergsen did have to go cleanse because he is up against this Lysandre. But even if the one-on-one is safe, it means teleport's up for this list.
Yeah, but this bottom lane is in a bad place. Not even talking about the teleport that could be hitting. The wave is pushed to Huni's side, and that advantage is only going to extend because Reignover is down there to give support.
Ooh, not a good play by Wild Turtle. Took a turret shot just to do a little bit of damage.
Ooh.
Yellow Star, though, oversteps just the same. And a couple of slight misplays in the laning phase here, but there's enough regen that both should be able to stay alive through it. Turtle not actually using his potion. I think he really should here to stay at full HP in case Lee Sin comes to gank him. But now, since Garen and Reignover see each other, level 5 Lee Sin to the 4 of Rek'Sai with Bjergsen here as well means it will be counter jungling.
Yeah, Bjergsen is able to get in there, and Svenskeren trying to carve out an advantage for himself. And we talked about how this is a pretty good matchup for Rek'Sai, but Svenskeren not shying away whatsoever, and he's trying to assert his dominance, and I like it. Based on the first 2 games, he's had Reignover on the back foot, and keep going for it.
He's going to go for this one right here on the bot side. Actually, just a quite quiet little trade there. Hanser healing up with the passive, and Huni losing some health.
Yeah, and I think Svenskeren's really going to have to play out of his mind this game for TSM to win, because the lanes themselves are not going very well for TSM, and this puts Immortals in that incredibly familiar situation of being ahead of their opponent. We heard Doublelift talking about how when watching Immortals in the regular season, he'd see them make all these questionable plays that they would easily get away with because they either rotated faster or just had a gold lead. Well, Immortals really knows their limits when they do have a lead, and they know how to press through it home really, really hard. And if these lanes stay like they are for the next 5 to 10 minutes, that 500 gold lead is going to turn into a 2-0 turret lead, as well as a whole bunch more gold. And it's Svenskeren who is really the one with the power to stop that.
We'll see if Lee Sin can do that then, as he is recalled one more time for the Tracker's Knife and a double longsword. But look at that. 5 people could be top lane real quick here. Powalter flash W into the ulti, into the simple first blood. Root lands on a doublet. He has nowhere to go. Exhausted, killed off by Wild Turtle. Powalter gets a shield. What a good start for Immortals.
And you could see how unprepared TSM was for that play in general. As the 5 people were killing the 2 people of TSM, both TSM solo lanes were channeling recall. So they weren't even saying like, oh, they're pushing top, they're going to gank top, we got to push lanes. They're now pushing lanes reactively, but they had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, and I mean, bad gets worse for this 2v2. As you can see, Wild Turtle, 64 CS to 35 and a kill. I mean, this is going to be a pretty brutal advantage.
I'm honestly surprised TSM changed their champ select up so much. The Janna coming in, making this bot lane so difficult. You get to see how easy it was to collapse on this.
Yeah, well, it's surprising to me that Pobelter was able to walk up there without having to use teleport, and his mid lane wasn't taking any turret against Corki, who's supposed to be lane bullying him. So credit to Pobelter for making that roam. But it's just a continuation of the constant lane pressure that Immortals has been under. They don't have ward coverage on the map. They haven't been able to get advantages in their 1v1s or 2v2s, and Immortals is looking like the Immortals we expected for the first 7 minutes of this game.
And you even mentioned ward control right here. Yes, Svenskeren has his Tracker's Knife in already, but Reignover went Hunter's Machete into Sightstone Swifties. Like, this Rek'Sai is going to be everywhere, giving vision to his entire team. Immortals can completely stranglehold this game.
And I think it's actually super intelligent. He doesn't have to carry the game. His team is already smashing these lanes. All you have to do when your lanes are smashing is ward up. Show them where the other jungler is. If you know where the jungler is, you know when you can go aggressive, you know when you have to play safe, because when you're this far behind, the only thing you do is hope for a gank.
Now, TSM can still hope for one. Maybe it'll happen for them. No root quite coming out here in this one, but Kalista pushes the wave and is still down 19. It's super rough right here. Bjergsen looking for the play, but he's on top of a ward while doing so. And it means there's no chance at an outplay right here. Sheen plus part of a Phage. Not the scariest build so far, as the package will soon run out. Rod of Ages for Powalter will be completed pretty soon, and that will be a nice beginning of the stacking game here. Death Stance will obviously be the first item for Huni, as he is winning his lane as well. Never has had to leave it, just winning the matchup against Maokai.
And I do also kind of want to point out this is the first game where Immortals isn't trying to be super creative in champion select.
Yeah.
Karma was the third support for Adrian in the regular season. Top lane Graves makes the most sense for Huni top. And Rek'Sai has really felt like Reignover's best champion throughout the whole regular season. So this is more so the lineup that got them to 17-1.
Yeah, and I mean, Lissandra as well is something that Pobelter has played so much over the years. So definitely saying he's comfortable with as well, but he could be caught out here.
Very much alone. Does self-ult to block the back half of the Lee Sin Q. Flash not going to come in from Rek'Sai, but it's still Svenskeren who stays alive.
And Hanser, using the TP there, actually had to cancel it. Huni didn't use his at all, and you know, down in the bot lane, Huni almost has this turret dead and now has the TP advantage.
Really good things for this 1v1 on the bot side here. Huni feeling a lot better on this Graves. He was up against Maokai as Lucian in game 1, but now a different matchup and better play so far from him.
Picking up the Cull as well. I mean, pretty confident. Not something you really see on the Graves, but working towards the Death Dance. And he's already smashing this lane, so when he picks up the turret and casts it on the Cull, that's going to be a massive gold advantage.
Maybe the Cull could also just be for the little bit of extra sustain in the lane, make it so Maokai can really not touch him at all since he's got the Dorns and
Warlord's Bloodlust, Scepter,
already.
And now a tower.
Oh, here we come, TP advantage.
Empowered Shield comes in, easy route on a double. They target him, and that's got really nowhere to go in this Callista. Which way will Janna run? Away, actually. He knows he would die if he tried to. Oh,
the juke!
The dodge on the ulti. Huni's teleport does not do actually anything except maybe burn a summoner heal. Double Lift and Yellow Star stay alive, but they burn 4 summoners, and top lane turret will go down.
And that was actually really dicey for Turtle. I believe he still has his heal available, but he was getting pretty close to being able to die to that Rend.
Yeah, scary stuff for him, but thankfully does stay alive. Rek'Sai comes down, Reignover makes sure mid lane stays afloat. No gank comes through for Svenskeren. Hanser's Maokai did have some free time on the bot side, though, so that turret actually taken actually all of its life.
Yeah, that's very surprising that he was able to get that, because he had almost no head start on that turret, but some big waves crash in, and the opportunity cost of that Huni teleport actually is definitely not worth it.
Yeah.
He was crushing Hanser, and it gives Hanser some time to stack up some armor now.
I really have to give Hanser some props here, actually. I mean, you know, yes, Huni did TP away there, but he stayed very even on CS. He actually gets the turret first in what I think is a very bad matchup for Maokai early on. And, you know, this is something where everyone's pretty much expecting Huni to just smash him, right? And so Huni gets a good matchup, and Hanser is actually playing very even.
Really good stuff for him. And he's going to probably need to be a really big factor in this game. He's one of the sole tanks on this team. It's, of course, Warrior, Enchant, Lee Sin. Here's for Svenskeren. So Maokai, the sole tank, and he was the sort of big factor in their Game 1 win when Immortals had a huge lead over TSM early game at the beginning of the series. But Hanser can maybe pull them back here in Game 3 as Immortals do have a bit of a lead. The bot lane outer turret was traded equal. And now it's a mismatch over there as Hanser is alone against 3. They put the teleport ward down in case they need Pobelter. And here he comes. Svenskeren over the wings, and Reignover has to get away. He will drop aggro and stay alive.
Hanser barely took any damage from that dive, and it's a 2v4 re-engage.
And nothing happened to him at all. Just stays afloat, doesn't care at all.
And that has got to be some flashbacks to Game 1.
Yeah.
They have some PTSD over this Maokai. They're just like, oh, God.
Oh, God, we can't kill him. He had completed the Sunfire Cape, right? And it was a BS Sword Jhin, obviously no armor penetration this early in the game. Karma Root and a Rek'Sai who rushed a Sightstone, so the damage is actually just not there, even though you're thinking in your mind, like, oh, yeah, it's a lane swap situation, a 3v1. But this is a 13 minutes against a fully tanked up Maokai, so at first glance, it looked like he was going to be dead, but upon further inspection, that dive had very low chance of working.
I think it's like, you know, in that 3v1, they thought they didn't need Pobelter's TP. Then they, oh crap, we realized we need to actually have this damage, and it was too late. So they actually waste the TP and don't kill him. So pretty critical play there. You know, it's windows like this that TSM is going to need to try to get back in.
Exactly. It's back-to-back failed teleports by Immortals. First one got Hanser back into the game, and TSM's first turret kill of the game. Second one just gave up lane pressure. Pobelter, who was 1-0-1, is now falling rapidly behind Bjergsen.
This is definitely more mistakes than a 17-1 regular season team should be making in the playoffs when their play is supposed to be cleaner. They've had 3 weeks to practice and prepare for this semifinal matchup. Obviously 1 week since they knew it was going to be TSM, but yeah, a lot of mistakes coming out this series from Immortals. This game has been their cleanest, but they need to be able to secure this. No more mistakes for Immortals if they want to make finals.
gotta say, I'm a little surprised. Yellowstar, hasn't been roaming around too much. And to see him grow Mobies over Lucidity, which I just think is so strong on Janna. Especially for the summary cooldown reduction for your exhaust, as well as just hitting a high amount of CDR. If you can hit 45% CDR on Janna, it's pretty godlike. You can basically have permanent shields.
You have a half-second downtime on your attack damage buffing shield. It's pretty, actually, incredibly strong. I love it on Janna, but. Well, not the case for him, at least not for a while here. Mid lane, early pressure. Once again, we're seeing Immortals group up as 4 to 5 champions, 14 minutes into the game, and look to invite TSM to not make the rotation. In this case, they kind of don't, actually. Quite a few auto attacks going down in this turret, down to 2/3 already. A little bit of poke on Svenskeren, but you can see Bjergsen putting some damage back himself, and as mid lane falls down to half HP, it's Doublelift forced to recall back by his, I assume, Hurricane? Yes. And now decide which lane he needs to reinforce. And it's mid.
I feel like we've been in this situation before where we're saying TSM needs to stall out a little bit from this early game turret pushing from Immortals. They no longer have the triple marksman like they did in game 1, but they still have 2, and this time a slightly better team fighting composition than they did before as well.
Yeah, if there's a misrotation by TSM, Lissandra goes in, Pobelter is not shy about diving, and you pop someone off right there. The early attack damage from the marksman will mean turret damage is there if TSM misrotates, but this time around it's TSM in the mid lane first, knocking mid lane outer down to half themselves.
Yeah, I mean, people talk a lot about the Sivir Lissandra, that kind of hard engage comp, and Karma's kind of your mini Sivir in this case, and you do have the follow-up engage from the curtain call from Jhin, so it's kind of an adaptation on that. And I do think even if it goes late, you always have the potential of getting those picks, and their team fight's definitely pretty solid, because people like Doublelift are going to always have to be very scared until they can get their QSS about the single target lockdown from Lissandra, and that's exactly what you want. You want the point-and-click CC against a character like Kalista.
Totally agree, and it's going to be something that solo mid will have to respect here. Right now, though, they're able to take a solo or a duo play at this bot lane Dragon, and looks like there's going to be no contest here. So Dragon #1 of this game will go cleanly to TSM.
That's really impressive, actually. Svenskeren gets the red buff steal from Reignover and then doesn't get punished for it in the slightest. Normally, when Reignover would get counter jungler, you take an objective, he's straight into your jungle and taking your stuff.
That might have been intentional.
Cycle for the Trinity Force proc on a better auto attack.
He's just giving them a false sense of
Or
security.
he could just rocket the minion to get them.
Yeah, I mean, he actually missed the caster. He should have R'd the caster, but sometimes you actually want to miss skill shots with Trinity Force users to, last it properly. For any novice Corkies out there, actually, you use rank 1 Gatling gun for only about half the time. You want to turn around between last hits, because you only want to barely damage caster minions. You'll actually break your last hits if you leave the whole Gatling gun on them. So occasionally you'll see really good Corkies will turn around and just not deal damage. Yep. And that's intentional.
Yeah, it's kind of similar as Rumble with Flame Splitter.
Right, exactly the same thing for him.
Yeah. But you gotta say, Immortals, with the lead that they started with, it has not compounded. It has not gotten any bigger. They were absolutely smashing the lanes in the early game, and this gold lead has become kind of stagnant. And as you get further into the game, that 2K gold lead, it starts to mean less and less and less and less. And they had that 2K gold lead at 7 minutes or something like that.
Super early.
And so in the next 10 minutes of game, it hasn't increased.
That could be a concern if Immortals are running out of steam. Their train could come to a stop, and they'd have to battle for 3rd place instead of 1st place this weekend. Quick jump over the wall. Pobelter's going to be totally fine. No hard CC to really activate by TSM.
Yeah, and I'm really going to be curious to see what happens as the Maokai vs. Graves matchup evolves later in this game. Like when Haunter gets a Frozen Heart versus when Huni has a Phantom Dancer and Infinity Edge. Who will win that duel in the long term? You think it's going to be Graves just because Maokai's not going to have the damage to kill him, but Haunter is really not behind in CS whatsoever, and with a little bit of assistance, Haunter would give the CC to be able to kill him. So a lot of this duel, this super slow duel, is going to be dictated by Reignover and Svenskeren, or even Bjergsen and Pobelter trying to turn the tides of that fight with teleports or packages.
Yeah, in my experience, a lot of it comes down to the itemization of the Graves. If he decides to get some MR, on top of his Death Stance, if he does go Maw, I think it's going to go pretty heavily in his favor, especially when you consider that Haunter is building much more for the team fight. He's picked up a cowl that's not going to help against the Graves.
Meanwhile, topside fight. Ooh, good flash away. Reignover would have gotten kicked back to the team by Svenskeren. Now the cleanse pop by Bjergsen to stay alive, but there's still a clock coming in into the root, but the nasty help him stay alive. He gets out of the root himself. TP in from the Maokai. There's the root. There's the first kill into Reignover, and it's going to be back on for another kill. Pobelter going down, and oh, you're kidding me!
He's alive!
He's alive! The curtain call is in, and can he get any meaningful damage? Not really. Wild Turtle misses most of the shots, does nothing good, and TSM finds a 2 for 0. Now the re-engage. Huni overextends into 4 people and just dies for it for no reason.
Wastes his flash on top of it. TSM coming up huge, catching kill after kill after kill, and you can smell the desperation on Huni re-engaging on Bjergsen there. Everyone's still around. He wastes his flash, gives up his life, and TSM are looking good.
One of the biggest knocks about Huni throughout his career is when he dies once or has something go wrong, he's got to get it back right away, and he pushes really hard to try and make that play. A lot of the time it works and leads to a lot of victories, but this time it backfired, and TSM is right back in this game.
They are, but the turrets are at least traded, so Immortals keeps the gold in their favor, if only slightly.
Yeah.
They turn back into the mid lane, but now Svenskeren says, you know, Rainover, I'm not afraid of you in the slightest. And Rek'Sai does quickly leave the jungle. Rainover is going full tank this time around. Randuin's going to be his second major purchase here after the Cinderhulk enchant.
Yeah, this whole play was started by Svenskeren getting aggressive, and Rainover is actually able to flash so he doesn't get kicked backwards, which makes Immortals want to turn the fight. But Pobelter ults the guy with Cleanse right away instead of Svenskeren on the backside, so Bjergsen's able to escape, and that buys time for Maokai to teleport in. Maokai's teleport presence is much higher than that of Graves. Watch Huni walk around the back of this fight. He does pretty much nothing, tries to ult over the wall to get Svenskeren, but the ult from Yellowstar is just clutch enough to save it.
Yeah.
And you compare teleport usage there between Hauntzer and Huni, and that is really what turned that fight 2-0. Now 3-0 because Huni decides to extend it after they lost.
Yeah, and Pobelter caught out again here, could be going down.
Self-ults to heal himself a little bit, but he's still got nowhere to go. Quick knock-up, and the kill goes through Svenskeren.
Oh!
1-0-1. Great ulti in by Double to keep Yellowstar safe and running away.
Just
Curtain
got to
call.
stand in front of him.
Well, it's still going to be some damage on the Svenskeren. His W up. That doesn't matter. The final shot came through. He stayed alive on this Lee Sin and outwalks TSM with another kill.
And I mean, the TP and Graves, you know, to your point, John, you know, it can be threatening. It's at least more threatening than the TP and Lucian, right? But the thing is, Maokai, you can TP in very, very deep and really disrupt things. You have to really mess up your TP a lot more on a Maokai for it to go bad than you do on the Graves.
You see the kind of damage up what was available here. Pobelter in that last team fight just got a couple of spells off and had to run away. Bjergsen, even though he was the ulti target, just got so much out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the power of the cleanse. You know, Pobelter got a little bit greedy for TSM's mid laner. Probably could have just taken the kill on Svenskeren and walked out of there.
That would have been much, much better. Absolutely agree with that one. So bad target selection by Pobelter, good capitalization by TSM. And now with the gold almost exactly equal, we need to see how well these teams can play the mid game. Objectives equalized here. It's now on the gameplay.
Yeah, the mid-game decision making, the teamwork, something that TSM had been very weak at throughout a lot of the regular season, but they have picked together in the playoffs. Immortals, obviously at 17-1, have had fantastic teamwork. Everything clicked from day one. That's something Immortals said. A lot of these teams that get players coming from all over need a lot of time to kind of find their groove. Like Alliance, when they're the European LCS super team that one year, started 0-4, ended up actually winning the split. But Immortals here, it seemed like everything would work from day one. Yeah. This is really the largest amount of adversity they've ever had to face, and they have to overcome it in about 10 minutes in between games in order to solve the problem.
I mean, most adversity they've had to face by far. You know, one bright spot, though, for Immortals, Turtle is very far ahead still. He's still 45 CS. He has his 2 completed items, so this is a very strong Jhin. You know, Immortals certainly are far from out of this game. They certainly are able to still win fights, but they just have to come together and play as a team. They need to play to their strengths, and they need to stay calm.
I think calm is something that they can definitely stay here. This is a winnable game on both sides as long as they play it right. Recall from Yellowstar, some poke on towards Bjergsen. Rainover looking to make his first major play in a while. Looks for the root. They do hit someone on Svenskeren. No knockback found just yet. Now goes in, but there's just not really any follow-up. Yellowstar back on the Rift.
It's a little tricky to engage onto a team with Janna. That's something Immortals hasn't really had to deal with this year because they've always been the ones that have the Janna. And I think calm is the right word for it, but they also have to make sure that they don't play scared. Something that has made Immortals the team that they are with the 17-1 regular season is how relentless they are and how aggressive they are and how they never give you time to catch up to the play. But now would be the first time they could ever be playing scared. Who has ever gone 17-1 in the regular season and lost the first game of the playoffs? That's never happened to a team in the LCS before. So that fear is something they have to be able to vanquish from the back of their minds if they want to play like the team that got them here. 17-1 Immortals.
Yeah, definitely calm but not scared. You have to take a read of the situation and be willing to pull the trigger, especially with an engage comp, like the Lissandra, right? You have to be willing to make that snap judgment and go for the kills, but you can't do it too early. If you pull the trigger at the wrong time, or you just get scared that nothing's happening, you need to make something happen, it can definitely go bad for you, especially with the Maokai, who has that counter engage.
Here it comes. Teleport from Lissandra.
Adrian losing a ton of HP, and now the push in towards the Rex side. Who goes for the flash knockup, and here come the teleports. Who's going to survive? Who's going to die? Oh, Belter gets to do nothing at all. Gets popped and destroyed. A trade back into Yellowstar, though. 4 versus 4. And here comes the Maokai. Hanser's in, and Rainover will go down despite the knockout coming through. A 2-for-1 in favor of TSM. Now the flash engage toward Wild Turtle, and Bjergsen gets revenge on his ex-teammate. Another trade back by Huni, trying to stay alive, getting the shield from Adrian, but he's still left alone. The flash means nothing. A double kill for Bjergsen.
And they go for the fight, and it doesn't work. TSM stays close in the game. They're now dead even in gold as they try and push mid after a 4-for-2 fight.
And this was with Maokai TPing in almost in the bot lane. He had to walk across the entire bottom side jungle to get to that fight. And Immortals, they overstayed. How did they not know that the Maokai is coming in?
I don't know, but it was certainly a mistake there, and it means that TSM have finally tied the gold back up and now gotten a small lead for themselves. Mentioned the farm leads Immortals had before, but now the kills have sort of circumvented that.
Yeah, and I need to see the teleport from Lissandra here. Rainover actually backs away, and they try and combo onto double and yellow, but Pobelter just doesn't get a good ultimate off in that fight.
Yeah, and I'm
not even sure what
the Maokai TPing in at the very, very bot side by the red buff, and he may have actually been trying to interrupt Huni, because Huni was actually TPing to the fight from there, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, really weird fight. I didn't get to see where the Lissandra ult came
I didn't
up
see it
because
either.
It went on a cooldown. All right, maybe he Lissandra ulted as Yellowstar got pulled in by the Fates call, so it looked like it disappeared or something.
Maybe, yeah,
Something
I'm not
really
sure,
strange.
but it certainly went on cooldown. I never saw the particle. I'd love to see that one afterwards with a bunch of rewind
I'll check it
tools.
again, you guys.
And I'm sure someone will tell us as well. I'm sure analysts are looking at it, and we'll get something in our ears about what exactly happened, but
And I mean, you gotta say, Bjergsen really being the beneficiary of a lot of this. He's up, 50 plus CS, 304, has his Trinity Force and his IE completed, and he's building into that multiplier item. So he's gonna be an insane damage threat in these team fights.
oh, certainly is. Speaking of insane damage threats, yeah, Bjergsen did almost 5K in that one. He has constantly had such insane uptime. And I mean, he's been consistently the best player on TSM for what, 3 years running now, and is actually just doing incredible work here. Nice smite by Svenskeren, gets the red buff yet again, just adding to the number of buffs taken away from Immortals throughout this year.
Yeah, he definitely ulted Janna, and Yellowstar did get blown up in that fight. Huni ultimate comboed it right away, so that's why we didn't get to see the Entomb for that long. This time it goes for double lift.
Plenty of damage. The knockup's going to be landed there, and is it going to be enough damage? The ulti in. Now the knockup to come through from Fate's call. Red means a kill, but the root will land in the curtain call. Can he block enough damage? No, Wild Turtle snipes him down to keep his team in the game. Now the push in for Yellowstar, who has almost nowhere to go. The root's going to land, the snipe through, and Adrian does have to take the kill, but it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Immortals to try to claw back in.
Yeah, and that was an example of some accelerated gameplay that Immortals had thrived in all year. So you see some mistakes, but you're forcing the decision so quickly. Double and Yellowstar tried their damnedest to make the outplay happen, but Immortals just had more people there. They kept coming, they rotated faster. That's the type of play they need more of.
The Turtle didn't even have to rotate. He's Jin. He wasn't even on the screen ever. He just shot bullets from the base practically. Quicksilver Sash is now in for double lift. So you've got Hanser, who is too tanky to die. You've got now a Dead Man's Plate and a Spectre's Cowl on the Lee Sin, plus even Merc Treads, Cleanse and Bjergsen, QSS on double lift, and Fate's Call for Yellowstar. There's not great targets anymore for Pobelter unless Cleanse is on cooldown.
And here we do have that replay, and Bjergsen, or sorry, the mid laner is not there for TSM, so Pobelter is actually going very aggressive here with Rainover. Fate's Call comes out, and they are able to get that kill. But a really nice W root there from Wild Turtle off the screen, and then the Fate's Call coming in, able to pick him off. And
what a good prediction.
Rainover was very high on health, but those spears were stacking. A couple more autos, he may have actually been able to pop them. So it was a lot closer than it looked. But on the back end of that fight, Yellowstar flashing out was a little bit ambitious. I think he probably should have held on to the summoner. So a bit of a nitpick there, but still, somebody's got to know when to cut your losses.
And I think it was really aggressive of double lift to be dashing back towards Lissandra when maybe he could have dashed backwards since Yellowstar still had the Monsoon to peel. But if Immortals didn't get the assistance of the other people, I think TSM actually wins that 2v2.
They do.
You can't fault him too hard for trying to go aggressive.
Plenty left, still ton of attack speed. Pavelter only has so much damage to deal. Svenskeren going for the 3rd Dragon in a row now for TSM in this game. Our Dragons have actually been stacking up pretty consistently for TSM most of this series, and not always just because they have map control. It's just something that they've actually controlled pretty well overall. This Dragon will slowly go down, and now the movement speed buff is on for TSM. The rotations are easier.
Yeah, when I was looking through the stats from Immortals in the regular season, the Dragon was actually the one thing they didn't seem to be good at taking, or they just didn't care about it. Like, for a team that was so dominant and had giant gold leads in every game and only lost a single one, you'd expect them to also have the highest Dragon control of teams just because they're winning the game a lot of the time, but that wasn't the case. They were 3rd in the LCS in Dragon control, getting about 60% of the overall Dragons, and it's not like TSM was above them. TSM was below them for sure, but it just goes to show that Immortals wasn't a heavily Dragon-focused team, and TSM has been able to pick up a few easy ones this game, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the top lane, we do see Haunter scaling up pretty hard now. He is picking up a lot of his key items. He almost has his Spirit Visage. He's got the Frozen Heart, the Sunfire Cape as well. You know, looking to have those 3 completed tank items is just going to make him so hard to kill. And you know, as you said, it just becomes tougher and tougher for Pobelter. Who does he even go for at this point? You know, with Mercred's Cowl on the Lee and just almost a full Spirit Visage on this Maokai. It's pretty rough.
Well, you can play the Peel game. You still got double marksman that will eventually burn down a Maokai, and this time Rainover is a real tank. Cinder Hulk plus the Randuin Zome and Spectre's Cowl nearly turned into the next item as well. So not too bad frontline-wise for Immortals. They also have plenty of Karma Shields to come through to keep that thing afloat. So a dedicated 5-on-5, not the worst thing, and I don't think it's too bad if Pavelter just sits there and holds the mid line.
Yeah, and the split pushing from Immortals is going to be becoming a little dangerous here. 312 CS on Ahuni, 1 away from Wild Turtle being highest on his team. Ooh, nice tunnel by Rainover. And he's gone for the Maw of Malmortius again against Haunter. So that means he's going to be winning that duel straight up against Maokai. And unless TSM forces fights quickly, I feel like Huni's just going to be able to take turret after turret in the split push.
Yeah, certainly will be strong in that, but we do have to keep the gank assist in mind, and we do have to keep in mind the team fight impact of tank versus tank, because you know the Maokai is going to add so much more than the Rek'Sai in these 5v5 fights, as Rek'Sai gets outscaled very heavily, I feel.
Yeah.
Not quite Maokai status for sure. We'll see how much more Rainover can do then. As Huni has the pickaxe, which could be Infinity Edge, which would be plenty of crit damage, or it could just simply be Last Whisper and do Lord Dominic's or Mortal Reminder to cut through tanks harder. We just got the Spirit Visage completed for Haunter just now, and Huni's going to get the easy blue buff steal on the bot side. Plenty of CDR as well, and the champions keep scaling up. This game within 500 gold, certainly remaining very close, and you can kind of tell both these teams realize how important this game is. This is the 3-0 for TSM, and it's survival for Immortals, and these teams getting a little bit more risk-averse, taking slightly fewer chances than they were earlier in the series.
Yeah, and you gotta say, going into these late game scenarios, the team fights can be so explosive. And as the death timers scale up, get longer and longer and longer, one team fight can mean so much more. So the teams definitely do get more and more nervous, I think, as you get to these late game stages. Especially
when you're in a series clinching game. It's no longer game 1 or 2. The next win could send a team to the finals and land the other team in the 3rd place match. So add to the fact the death timers are super long, and one team fight that happens in one side of the team's jungle gives you enough time to just end the game straight up, but that actually means it gives you enough time to end the series.
Yeah.
We'll see if TSM can do just that as they run around the map, dodging away from plants, killing pink wards, and looking to play for Baron control right now. So that top middle of the map seems to be the goal for these guys as they play for the wards as well as they can. Rainover actually missed the brush with the green ward. Shouldn't mean too much for him, though. Can still track Baron movements. Knock up on his Svenskeren means almost nothing as Adrian looks to move forward. W misses from Wild Turtle, and we can see Huni in a battle with Haunter. He actually chose to give red buff away to the Jhin, and now he's going to get jumped on 1 versus 3. He could not make this outplay happen. He will get popped. And suddenly, Pobelter's here, looking for the big play. Self-ult, but now comes the rest of the team. It's a 5v4. Pobelter playing as much time as he can. It's going to be the root on his Svenskeren, but they're not going to get any more damage. Now Haunter in the front lines nearly gets dropped down, but he's going to stay alive in this one. Now it's Bjergsen running away, back into Rainover, a second kill, trade it back on a Yellow Star, another route in for Haunter, but they're gonna trade it back in, and now the damage on towards Wild Turtle, it's a bunch of kills, and it's an ace! A triple for Bjergsen!
What a brilliantly played team fight.
fight by TSM. Svenskar dancing around on the back lines. The front line staying protected by Yellow Star, by the Maokai. Haunter knowing his limits perfectly, and they're going for Baron.
Those are the team fight mechanics TSM was hoping for when they put this roster together. But it all started because Huni was getting aggressive in that split push, and he was going to slowly wear Haunter down. But that's one of the reasons you can pick a Maokai into a Graves. If you get help, you guarantee that your help has time to get there with the CC he has. Because of the position of the fight being so far back in TSM's side of the map, it's not like they could end the game off that, but they could at least take the Baron.
And with all the damage dealt to TSM here, Immortals wanted to go in for the 4v5. That ulti is really slick because it stops the first stun in for Pobelter, I think.
So essentially what happened is Pobelter was taking his claw in. He wanted to use a cycle of spells and then his ultimate. And in that quarter second before using his ultimate, Yellow Star blew him backwards, which was kind of killed the Immortals initiation. He still got a lot of damage off in the choke though. This is the big play by Svenskar and dancing around to stop Wild Turtle's DPS more than just reposition him in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, he makes him play so scared. He lands the Q on him, waits till the last second, then goes in as Wild Turtle commits, think he's not going to take it, kicks him in, dances back out, ward hopping around, playing so brilliantly in these team fights that is not easy to do. They played it to the knife edge, very, very close, but TSM comes up huge in that fight. And with, you know, more and more items coming in for them, Bloodthirster now done for Wild Turtle on top of the QSS and the Bork. Going to be so hard to take out this Glista. And it's kind of that timer in these fights as those spears are stacking. You know you're getting closer and closer to that Rend.
We haven't even talked about Bjergsen, who's the kill leader on TSM, with an incredibly aggressive build right here. Bloodthirster will be his defensive item when he gets it. Doesn't go for a QSS because he has the cleanse. He would be a potential burst target, but he has been so safe in these team fights, and the damage has been out of control. Oh, Huni takes so much poke.
Yeah, it's definitely been incredible here watching Bjergsen do a ton of work here in the series. Maokai split pushing in the bot lane. Teleport is up, but he's not wearing a Baron buff, so it's not the fastest push, but no one's defending him.
And this could be the breaking point in the series, right? Bjergsen and Doublift are performing, but they were the top performing members of the team throughout the regular season. Yeah. It's Svenskar and Haunter that are winning this series for TSM because they are performing so much better than their expected matchup. When you're thinking of the best dynamic duo in the league with Reignover and Huni for multiple splits, and it's been Svenskar and Haunter beating them potentially 3 games in a row.
Impressively so. Looking for the 3-0 is TSM. Now the root's going to land. Svenskar down at half HP. This could be a decent fight, but of course Baron buff is still on 3 members for another minute. Immortals need to get something
Teleport
working.
in behind from Pobelter.
Looking for the play, looking for the hard engage. What can they even find? Haunter pops ulti. Immortals can wait it out and re-engage when that does time out. When will they go in? Do they even have the ability to do so? Dragon 4 spawns, TSM running towards it.
Yeah, and Haunter stepping back in front, popping the ulti more than enough to ward Immortals away. They know they don't want to engage through that. They don't have the ability to do it. And, you know, look across the board at the score lines here. TSM, this has been a complete team effort. Everyone is contributing this game. And what better way to look to close out a series than with every single member on your team playing well?
Definitely beautiful stuff there. Dragon 4 means there's a 6-minute timer on getting that 5th buff and having an easier way than getting another Baron to try to close this game out here. TSM could keep the streak alive, and who would have thought that a team that ended the regular season in 6th place with a 9-9 record, worse than TSM has ever done in North America. The unexpected upset win over Cloud9, the 3rd seed. Now, coming into an unexpected, huge upset potential win over Immortals.
And this is the crazy thing. This is actually the first split in the LCS where there's been dynamic reseeding. So in past years, if they beat the 3 seed, they would play the 2 seed in the semifinals because that's how the bracket was set up. But now, the lowest seed always plays the highest seed if both teams win. So they have to go through the 3 seed and then the 1 seed in order to get to the finals, which makes it all the more impressive.
The hardest possible route.
And a bit of an impressive stat is the 4,000 goldies all on.
Oh, it's another fight.
Here we go.
Double
They're going to go. They got double lift. That's a huge steal. Reignover stays alive. Immortals in a 5 versus 4 team fight, but it's going to be Reignover getting shields, trying to stay alive, and he does so. Adrian keeps him up. Now the re-engage on a Haunter, who gets over the wall onto Huni, and Graves might be sent to his. No, he stays alive. More shields in, but now Reignover's reign is going to be over. 2 more kills for TSM. Now the curtain call, hoping to make it just that for TSM. Yellow's running away, but he sniped one off, and the damage is coming through. The W snipe only hitting onto Bjergsen. It's a 2-for-2 kill spread so far.
That was a flash Karma E. They want to keep chasing this. Will he be able to? Oh, look at the damage coming back from Bjergsen. Huni has to be careful.
Oh, wow.
God.
Huni nearly gets chunked out. Bjergsen with a 70% crit chance build does ridiculous damage with our auto attack Trinity Force spikes. 2 of those nearly took down Huni. Has to respect that.
Yeah, wow.
I want to see the damage dealt to champions in that team fight because Double Lift, well, we'll have time to pull the stat.
Yeah.
Because Double Lift died right at the start of that one, and he did QSS the Lysandre ultimate, but then he was still in range for all of the damage that Pobelter put down on him.
He was just completely split from the rest of his team. So, even though he did have that QSS, he's still going to get taken out. The QSS gets you out of the CC, does not protect you from the follow-up damage. But Bjergsen coming up huge for TSM, I have to say, in that fight. The fact that he's so fed and he has, a 4,000 plus gold lead on his laner allowed him to put out the damage for effectively 2 people and keep them alive in that fight.
And that's what I love about sort of the core key builds is people sort of identify the correct choice. I love the build used to actually be like Triforce, Essence Reaver, like I have max CDR rockets, I'm so cool. But now people are realizing like, yeah, you go into like Rapid Fire Cannon third with Infinity Edge second. It's a 70% crit chance marksman. Like that's legitimately just high damage in general. And you buy the Sork shoes, that's a fine it's a fine item as well because you still do plenty of magic damage with your auto attacks. And it means that Bjergsen is scarily effective. 408 minion kills in a 38.5-minute game. Like he's farming, he's getting kills, and he's trying to hard carry.
And Huni's also trying really hard to get back in this game.
Yeah.
He's going to be going for an Infinity Edge next, which is more of what got them here, right? Huni has been able to carry a lot of games, but he has also been one of the worst performers on Immortals throughout this series. And he's putting himself in a position where it's going to be feast or famine. He's either going to have a great fight where he gets the 10 bullets, which is what you get, 10 pellets if you Infinity Edge crit as Graves, insane damage and lifesteal, or he's in the wrong spot and he gets blown up by Bjergsen.
And I mean, both the ADs on Immortals are still very, very farmed. If you look at the CS advantages, Wild Turtle 70 up on Double Lift and Huni over 100 CS up on Haunter. So these guys are still very, very powerful. They may not be getting all the kills, but they have a huge amount of farm.
And we're going to get ourselves back into the game in a second. The unpause order has come through. Both teams are ready. We'll be back into this one. Sven Skaran had pausing. He was getting FPS drops, restarted his game client. He's back in, and the teams are ready to go back into this one. Kalista has picked up Mortal Reminder to cut through all the self-healing that Huni, Rainover, and Co. can all do. I think it's a very smart choice. It's an underbot item, and smart of Double Lift to grab it here.
Mortal Reminder on both sides, too. Double Lift has got a lot of lifesteal on Kalista, and that's huge with the Janna shield, so.
Yep. Yeah, Wild Turtle got his own Mortal Reminder. It's Lord Dominic's for Huni, but at least a proper split there. We can see, the early catch, W into ulti, and the crit coming through from Wild Turtle.
The Glacial Path's actually the highest damage normal ability for Lysandre, so the fact that that hit Double Lift was very crucial. And then the rest of the fight was super interesting because Huni teleports in on the backside and doesn't get that much done, really. Haunter CCs him down, Huni almost dies and then has to go out of the fight. So all the while, Haunter is tanking all of the Jhin shots for Bjergsen and allows Bjergsen to get the most damage out as possible. It's really when this Fate's Call comes in and Wild Turtle gets the snipe onto Sven right at the last step, essentially, before he can get out.
Yeah, really impressive stuff there. And then, Huni, his Maw got popped a while ago, and Adrian's like, yes, we can get this, chase him down, but just not the case. Keep in mind, these guys are running away with a Janna. Like, they all get bonus move speed.
And that was so close to being another kill there for Bjergsen.
Yeah, super, super, super close right there.
He had flash. He could have gone in for the kill, but then he probably would have died to Wild Turtle, who was right behind.
Yeah, it's just not worth the risk, especially when you've already lost.
Look at that damage in the team fight. 8,500 by Bjergsen. And 7,500 by Wild Turtle.
Yeah.
Former teammates. It used to be Turtle and Bjergsen would turn it on in playoffs, and then TSM would win. Turtle trying his best to stop TSM's streak.
To be fair, this still could be Turtle and Bjergsen turning it on in playoffs and TSM winning. Just
here's Haunter on the backside.
And looking for the play right there. Good knockback, and that's going to be Karma gone. Adrian is dead. Now the 5v4 in TSM's favor. A knock-up, and again, on to Rainover. 2 kills for TSM. Minute and a half roughly on Dragon. Baron's up in 15. It'd be a 5v3 to try it.
That is absolutely huge. They still had deep wards from the last time they were in Immortals jungle, and they just pulled the trigger on a play. Such a good proactive play from TSM, not waiting to react to Immortals. And Baron's up in 2 seconds. 5v3. This is TSM's to take.
Yeah.
Gonna go.
I don't think Immortals have any business even trying to contest this, and my guess is they won't, as they are just going to kind of ping towards mid lane and try to get something done, but pretty huge for TSM here.
I think the only play Immortals can make is shove mid, then ward for Dragon. This TP flank is so sick, though. Haunter's there, and he chooses to go for Adrian, not for Turtle, knowing it's an available target.
I think that's really smart. Oftentimes, a Maokai will tunnel on the squishy target, but not remember where his team is. And Haunter is the story of a team player in this series. He's been the full tank. Everyone is supporting him going in 1-1-13. Massive Maokai yet again. And it was the right target to go for, going for the people that were caught between him and his team.
And that's the kind of dream scoreline you actually want on a Maokai. You don't want to get the kills. If you're trying to win, you want the kills to go to your carries, which is exactly where they have been going. As Bjergsen has racked up 8, and we have 6 on double lift.
All right, well, another quick pause coming through. You saw TSM trying to slow push that lane. It was Bjergsen last hitting as late as he possibly could, and hoping that they could ride a double wave in the longer they take. And they can use that to push in for mid lane inhibitor turret itself. They can also turn around in 30 seconds and go for Dragon 5. That will coincide with the Baron buff, so TSM will have all the globals soon.
That's a big thing, and these pauses are timed at a very strange moment in the game because FPS drops complained about by Bjergsen, so they were going to be restarting his client as well. 37 seconds to that Dragon. 5th Dragon, that would be for TSM. They have the Baron buff. They're already up 2-0 in the series. They can't communicate strategy about this pause, but you know everyone on Immortals and everyone on TSM needs to be calming themselves down as much as possible and thinking about their next move.
Yeah, and I think that next move has to be contesting the 5th Dragon. I think that if you give up 5th Dragon, that's almost certainly going to be the last nail in the coffin. So, you know, it becomes this thing where it's kind of this inevitability for Immortals where they have to go for this fight. And TSM, as long as they get up the wards, they get proper vision, they set up their battle lines, it's going to be pretty tough for Immortals to actually get something done in that fight.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's going to be tough stuff, I think, coming through soon. There'd be about a minute and a half of overlap of Dragon 5 plus Baron buff. That's how long they'd have it for, and assuming they kill the Dragon right away. And that's 3 waves of we are so much more powerful than you are. And you have to weigh that difficulty of getting sieged with that kind of buff versus playing an open field fight against a team with a 6,000 gold and a Baron buff in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about Dragon 5, any sort of poke puts a huge burn on you. That's Maokai Sapling, that's Corki Rocket, that's anything.
Yeah, and we need to think about the setup for this as well. There's no teleport on Pobelter, so it will be hard for them to get in. But also, TSM can set up a pretty strong amount of poke just on the outside of this turret, so maybe they try and just rush the Dragon if Immortals is too far back in the base and get it before they can come in. So Immortals doesn't have time to set up an ideal initiation, and they can't get a good TP flank off.
They can Death Brush as well. If they didn't get ward control, if Immortals didn't get ward control, TSM could be waiting at any single brush or rushing the Dragon down. Immortals are able to slink forward now. They see where Haunter is. They've got Huni on the wings, and they're trying to fight before the Dragon goes down. A quick root on a Spencer.
on the Dragon
AoE shield in. Yeah, Dragon's being attempted here, and it's going to be the chance of a steal. Can they get it? That answer is likely to be no. There is the Dragon picked up. Here's the re-engage. Maokai into the front line. This could be the finals for TSM. Svenskern's killed off Pobelter. Haunter staying alive in the back line. The re-engage for TSM. They're looking to close the series out. Bjergsen takes down Wild Turtle. It's a 5v3 with Baron and Dragon 5 and TSM chance of the audience.
Who could have thought that TSM would 3-0 as the 6th seed coming into this against Immortals? People were saying they were going to be better than you expected, but this good? 3-0 against Immortals, and they're looking for the win.
Looking for it right now. Mid lane inhibitor is gone. Solo mid looking for their 7th straight North American LCS finals, and against who else but the team that beat them last, Counter Logic Gaming. The Nexus turrets are falling, all 5 members are alive, and all 5 of them deserve this one. An incredibly played series by TSM as they pick up the last few kills. They take down the Nexus, and TSM are heading to the finals.
Can you believe it? On the back of a 3-0, no one was saying that TSM would win this, let alone in a clean sweep over Immortals, who were 17-1 in the regular season. Just absolutely incredible play from TSM. So impressed by them. Bjergsen coming up huge in the final game, their superstar, but it was Haunter, it was Svenskeren, and it was Yellow Star. These guys playing so much better in the regular season, coming up huge.
What a shocking result. And it gives us what would be the least shocking final, a TSM versus CLG, but based on the context, it's really hard to believe. This is the first time Huni and Reignover will not be making the finals, and the former teammates who did have the perfect split with Fnatic in the summer exchange hugs after that one, but
And then the lift
Unreal.
up. Reginald definitely very happy about his team. I got to talk to him before the series, and he said 55% chance we win 3-1, which is like the least confident I've ever heard Reginald about anything. And a very impressive 3-0. TSM went 3-6 in the last 9 games. They were
Yeah.
the joke of playoff teams coming into this.